After the 3 months I spent there in 2006, there was significant decline in security, significant decline in electricity and water services, and it made life just unbelievably. It was, the very basic things, just getting through a day, was a struggle to survive. And my second trip, I think it certainly, when I recovered from it, I was certainly more determined to get my message out, to give my family a voice. But it also opened more doors for me, because it was through the connections I had as a speaker with Global Exchange that those organizers had connections to Congresswoman Lynn Woolsey's office from California. And they were the ones, Maxine Waters, John Conyers, Barbara Lee, they were developing the Out of Iraq caucus, and they were the ones who hosted that congressional forum. And so because the organizers knew I had just come back from 3 months in Iraq, they invited me to speak. Once that 5 minutes of testimony ended up on YouTube, I started to get a lot more exposure, and that's when I really started to get invitations around the country. And so I, anything and everything that I could attend and speak at, I was happy to do it. So this was not a conscious decision, really, to say I'm going to leave my medical career behind, because I did go to medical school and I've done years of residency training, though I did not finish in my specialty of anesthesiology. But during the run-up to the invasion, I took leave from my residency in 2002, and I've yet to go back. It just so happened that this became a full-time project, and it was very rewarding for me. I wish that that the conditions on the ground had changed. It's only gotten worse while I've been speaking out, and unfortunately, since Obama was elected, there's this sense that everything would be better. But there were a few of us saying, this could be worse, and there are a whole lot of people recognizing that nothing's changed, except now that we're bombing Pakistan as well as the other countries. So my speaking engagements slowed down a lot, which has spurred me to work on writing. So if I could shamelessly self-promote, I'm working on a book that I hope will be out by the end of the year that will sort of convey, I hope, the humanity of the Iraqi people, and hopefully readers will be able to understand the suffering under occupation and extend that to Iraq, to Afghanistan, to Palestine, and hopefully maybe that'll open some more eyes and bring us closer to changing our policies.
Kind of like Uncle Tom's Cabin. I know that was a big changer for, the sentiment towards the slaves when people read that Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, made them realize
if I have 1/16 of the impact of that book, that would be tremendous. I love the analogy. It's very. I'll be working for that. But I am. I've never considered myself a writer, and now that I'm trying to write, I really don't consider myself a writer. But I hope that I can.
If you're half as eloquent as you are speaker, you'll be fine.
Well, that's lovely. All right, I'll keep working. I'm working.
So, do you have a name for the book already?
We'll see if editors and publishers will go with it, but the title I have now is Liberate This, which was my obnoxious response to Operation Iraqi Liberation, and more self-promotion. That's also the name of my website, LiberateThis.com, which right now is really primarily a source of information, where people can look for the background information that backs up what I say in my speeches and presentations. But hopefully it will move forward. The website will expand with the book.
Mm-hmm. And now you talk about how there was actual deterioration in conditions on the ground, and now even after now that Obama's in office, people are expecting it to get better. Do you think this is like a purposeful worsening of the conditions? Is it some sort of a I don't know, like some sort of psyops, to dehumanize these people, or is it just flat out incompetence, or got any thoughts on that?
All of the above, I think. There was absolutely an orchestrated plan to dehumanize the Iraqi people starting back in 1990 in order to garner American public support for the first Gulf War in 1991. The U.S. government hired a public relations firm called Hill and Knowlton to come up with a good story that would make people hate Iraqis and make people support an attack. And the story they came up with was that Iraqi soldiers allegedly went into Kuwaiti hospitals and threw the babies out of the incubators and onto the cold floor. This was a complete fabrication. The young woman who testified before Congress and relayed these stories happened to be the daughter of the Kuwaiti ambassador to the United States. It was a complete lie, a complete fabrication, and over 100,000 people lost their lives based on that sort of demonization. With shock and awe, it was the sentiment was, well, we're coming to liberate the Iraqi people, but there's still the amount of racism that was wrapped up in that is something that has been really drilled into our heads in this country for years. So it doesn't surprise me that there's still a sense that, as you mentioned from your aunt, that people are like, well, we help them, as if we are superior to them and they need our guidance. And this is, there's excellent work by Jack Shaheen called Real Bad Arabs, with real spelled R-E-E-L. And it's a systematic negative stereotyping of Arabs, and that's overlapped with Muslims in the mainstream media and especially in Hollywood. Now, there are a number of groups that get targeted with negative stereotypes, but if there are not positive ones to balance them, then you only have one image of that particular group. Now, I, along with everyone else, has been trained that when I hear the word Arab, I'm supposed to think terrorist. And the images that we usually see coming from the Arab world are young men. They're often dressed in black. Often their faces are covered, so you cannot identify them, so that's dehumanizing. They are angry, and they are chanting in a language we don't understand, and they're carrying weapons. This is the typical image. What we don't see is the majority of the population, which are women and children. They are the majority of any population, because if you take any country, any city, any group, you take a random sampling, you're going to get about half male, half female. So you add up the women, the girls, and the boys, and that majority is women and children. And those young men are angry because our policies are killing their families, and that's the missing piece. Once we recognize that we have more in common with the people, the workers around the world, the middle class a middle class around the world, those working people who make up the countries, we have more in common with them than we do with our own government, then that's when this paradigm that they've established will shatter. And that's what we have to do, because if we could see what we've done, what our government has done in our name to innocent people who did nothing to us, then we would recognize that we had better do something to make up for it if we want our own national security.
You call to mind, I think about the soldiers, right? And they went over on a lie. And, they were told that they were going to go to free and help those people, free them from Saddam Hussein. And I believe that many of them really, truly believed that they were going there on a good cause. And you see this evidenced by many soldiers who return and speak out against the war and come and share the brutal stories and the brutal reality of what's really going on over there.